up, everyone? Welcome back. Check that mic real quick. Looking good. So, yeah, we're going to be looking at effects like this today. That's fun. You know, you see trail effects a lot. It's videos to show, mainly get to look like this, but I hope to do a few parts to show, you know, a lot of times people just throw it on a dynamic object and just let it rock. The next level is to, you know, you see with like weapon trails. These isn't the same thing. These aren't dynamic. These are just circles we've talked about before. But you've seen it a lot in games where it's kind of ribbony and like they're kind of flapping their sword around and like there's like a ribbony effect. Just, doesn't look very good. But then you have like the next level where it's like you do a little bit better job of like when to like show it and not show it. And that goes a long way. But what I want to show you is just taking the dynamic trail and showing you different things you can do with it that are pretty simple. They can... how do I phrase this? Anyway, let's just get to it. Oh shit, let's let it do this talking. We may only cover this one again today, but we'll do a few parts. I don't know if they'll be consecutive, but we're going to talk about creating some nice motion through some behaviors through these. You can see this gets pretty cool. So let's get to it. So this one's even more Unity specific. You're going to get... or you can come across trail renderers. You know, they've been around forever. They're really cool. Unity's is nice. It's pretty limited, but it does a lot of what I need. Go here, some prefabs I have. The trail part. You know, just make a new thing. Well, let's do it properly. A couple of my past videos, I kind of, you know, it's always a give and take between length and providing content. I feel like a lot of the content was lacking in some previous videos. So we'll do some full-on how-tos on some of those. And then, you know, in the future I'm going to focus more on that. Because that's kind of the point of these videos. More specific implementations. And then you can decide, you know, how much to use of it rather than just me showing you sort of a technique. I think these bigger implementations, or more full-on implementations, will be more helpful. So what is a trail renderer? What does it do? Unity doesn't really show the geometry by default anymore. Let's try and pause it. Let's get a bunch going. Probably pretty obvious, but try and grab one here. Let's go here. Does it show it? Let's see. Can we? I thought it would fade out the other ones better. Basically, you know, it's creating geometry on the fly. Just creating simple ribbons. They're just quads, basically. They're called ribbons, generally, and when you hear about them. But they're quads. Just 4 vertices, just stacking them up as it goes along in world space. And you can just render something on top of it. What I was going to mention is that Unity's is nice because it's, and this isn't like that fancy, but it goes a long way. It has, you know, based on the view, so you're not getting like actual flat ribbons. You can run into some issues, which we'll talk about. Actually saw it in a video the other day where in Trails of Cold Steel, which I think is just a gorgeous game. I've been looking at it a lot. which will be part of another video coming up actually. But when you get to certain extreme angles, you get some twisting. You can see it right there. How some of them that go towards the front sort of twist a bit because they're trying to face the camera. Or when you're going around edges or around turns. Already you can see there. That's looking pretty dope. And like this is like super fast. Like we're not chugging at all. I mean, we're chugging a little because I'm doing OBS and stuff, but it's like crazy. Have all this geometry. And that's another reason I like the Unity one. Tried some others. Some others are nice, like in the Unity Asset Store, because they do some Bezier stuff. So when they're doing their curves, man, I can't even see. They sort of smooth out the curves, which can help with that sort of old school, you know, ribbony effect where everything's really chunky. So yeah, anyway. Sort of lost some train of thought there. Oh yeah, so you can see here where you get some bunching up in the curves. A better implementation, because this shader it doesn't cull, so it always does the front and the back. And you might want to touch that up with your shader. You could Z-Write. That might help get rid of that. But you're still going to get this twist. So it's like, as it's coming around in a ring like this, along these edges, it like flips because it's trying to face the camera. So normally you'd think you could just keep going in circles, but the logic sort of creates some problems there. Anyway, let's get to it. First step. Kind of depends. Like all things, it's good to have an idea in mind. You know, sometimes it's fun to just experiment, but you're going to go a lot faster if you have an effect in mind. So my effect, why I first did this was for, you know, like a lifesteal effect. So I knew I wanted to use red, although I like to do my best to, see down here, green represents health. You know, maybe in the future I'll change that, but red just seems to be a little more universal. I think there's not much confusion, even though I do like to keep a visual language consistent in the game. I think that's important. You know, we have green down here in our health bar, but you know, the lifesteal is the red. Maybe just regular life gain will be green or whatever. This isn't the exact effect. It's a little bit different, but you know, when you're striking enemies, those will fly in, show that you're getting some health. So we knew we wanted that. So it's like, okay, let's do a trail renderer then. So our first step be to just get it going. So we're going to do 3D object. So do a quad, bring it in. Oh, and if you couldn't see earlier, we're listening to the Fate Extra soundtrack again. I know we've listened to just some are good for streaming. I guess that's why they come up a lot. Whoops. And we'll keep that quad on there. Always delete the collider. We don't need that. Add component, trail renderer. If you just grab this right away, you'll see it's rendering a trail. It's just coincidentally the same size. You know, this is the default Unity 1 meter or 1 unit. You know, it'll just render it out there. You can see how it has like a thickness, and as we hit these extreme angles, you can see it twisting and popping and stuff. That's the thing I mentioned earlier. Basically, Unity's built-in one. It has like is a time-based one, so you know, 1 second, and it'll trail around like that. And one of the main things I want to get across in this video is the strength of using things that are dynamic but have like nicer movement. So you can see this isn't like the smoothest movement, and so that's going to be one of our goals, is to create like some nicer movement, because even when you have those Bezier curve implementations, you can still get some like jaggedness, and so we want to smooth that out, make it look nicer. And we'll talk about some stuff on doing that. So there, it's like, okay, we don't like that very much. Well, I mean, we like the trail, but it's like, of course, we don't want to just render pink on there. Just the, you know, debug pink. So let's, forget what I call them, was material. It's this one, do Control D. So we're material 9, and we'll do a bit of a different color just because we're doing something new. More blue, more white. Intensity up just a little bit. Mission, the blue might look pretty nice, we'll see. Let's actually label this so we know what we're doing. And I thought I dragged this into the other scene here, so that's kind of annoying. If anyone knows a faster way to do this, let me know. I want it on the default scene. It went way out there. Please come back to me. And you know, you may have seen it not in just sort of like magical effects, but you know, even in more like quote unquote realistic effects, like in Shinobi for PS2, his scarf flying around. They probably did something similar. So got that trail renderer going. What I like to do is do create empty on the object, drag it up, drag that back onto the new one, do tutorial trails, and then create empty again. This will be the head, which we'll get to later. And so our trail renderer, let's grab our new one. We can drag it here, or we can drag it into here. Oh, I forgot. I still had that that original quad. So that original one, I didn't really need to make a quad. What I should have done is kept that and then made a new object on that object. Anyway, get to it. So now for reals this time. Put on the trail renderer. So let's, you know, you want to think about your shapes. Let's get to our texture. Let's pop that open. Let's show you how the different rendering works. You can, so you may think, you know, I want something like just this. Classic thing that we do, inner glow with black. That creates a gray scale for us to mess with. And so grab this and move it around, and that's not exactly what we want, right? Because it's like fading out right here. So what I like to do then is drag this to the side, or drag this in the middle, Control T to transform. Squeeze this in a bit. And we're going to have a head on it too to help blend it out. That's another reason why we have that. And then we can grab that other side. Well, let's scoot it first. Scooched over. Grab that other side. Stretch it out. So now we have that, so where it's actually thick at the front and it thins out. Another part of this renderer is that it's not happening now, but if you wanted like just pure, like no texturing necessarily, and also for some other effects, like if you did like a smoke trail, if you'd start thin and get thicker, you'd have like a cloud texture on there. But you can control the rate, the width over time, rather, not the rate. And so, our texture kind of does that by itself, but it's also nice to just, maybe increase that a little bit. So now it pinches a little bit more. If you wanted, even, you could do things like this. You may be into that. That could be smoke-like as well. That's just nice. And, I haven't seen stuff like that in other chart rendering implementations, so I think that's really cool. And we'll be using that. So we got this. Looking all right. Let's go ahead and pop a head on there. We will grab this material. Whoops. Where is it kept? Bippity-bop. Thought it was up here. There it is. It was hidden. Control D. I didn't make this a new texture, which I should have. I wanted to double check that it was that one. I did some other stuff where I added more black there, and then added some white, like coming down the middle. So the effect's a little bit different. What am I getting at here? I wanted to duplicate this first. Tutorial was texture. And now that we've duplicated that, we'll go back. Open it up, do that, save it, grab that material, put a tutorial wisp texture. So that one's actually looking pretty good. Going on. So then we have this other material we wanted to do. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it again. Tutorial wisp head texture. Open that up. I'm going to go ahead and just delete everything. Layer, delete, hidden layers. Yes, they're all gone. So, one little shape I like to use that I haven't done a video yet is it's actually grab a square, grab an eraser, hard, put it right in the corner, make it match the size of the square, line it up like so, and we'll smooth it out in a bit. And if you want it really perfect, you'd actually only worry about one corner and then cut it at a 45, whoops, and then duplicate that as well, rotate it around. And you can see that's actually a little uneven, so we're going to go ahead and do that. It doesn't have to be perfect at this point because we're going to inverse, delete, transform, horizontal, Control D, Alt drag, edit, transform, rotate 180, which I guess I should do. Rotate 45 first. Is that right? Not this much. 590, cool. Delete, edit, transform. Go down a bit. Let's save that. Go to the head. This is the one where we wanted the actual. So let's actually do it that way. Delete this. There's other ways we can do it, but now we'll do game object, 3D object, quad. Excuse me. Okay. Right click, 3D object, quad. Move the collider. Was what was it? Wasn't that what it was called? Oh no, it was like it was 10 or something like that. Yeah. So this one's static now. Where'd our trail go? Oh, I was moving it in local space. Whoops. You can see it's offset by accident. And you could have this on one. I think it's just kind of nice to have them separate. Have that new one, drag on there. So now we have this sort of sparkly look here going on. It won't make it cooler than that. Inner glow. Increase the size a bit. Inner glow. We need a way to soften this. You can. Let's duplicate this. We'll do it a different way. We'll just do a blur. Gaussian blur. Whoops, inner glow. Remember, outer glow adds opacity, so you kind of want to keep that in mind. Sorry, it's chugging a bit. Actually, do something more like this. Whoops, do it with the opacity. Do that. I like a sparkly. No, my camera's not over there very good. Whoops. Now we have that. It's looking a little cooler. It'll look pretty dope, like actual in game. And we can adjust that, of course, as we go on. So now we have this. And I do that. Got the shooting star situation going on. What do we do with it? So, generally you're going to want, you got to have a way to spawn them. If it's a single effect, it's throwing a bunch out, or you're using the effect a lot, you're going to want to create a pool of them. First of all, let's make this prefab because that was sort of our goal. I didn't say that specifically, but that was, so I have a prefab. So now we can generate a bunch of these, and the trail renderer will just update nicely, just automatically. And we can just turn it on and off, and we can control other facets of it. Whoops. As we go along here. So generally you're going to need You don't super have to, but you could do it as one script if you wanted, but I like to have, you know, one for the pool, a script for the pool, a mono behavior, and then one for each individual one. So this is the default, or the one that I have made already. But let's start from the beginning. And let's actually disable this old one. I'm just keeping this here so I don't have to make another quad with a star here, so we have a this little sparkle here is just so we can see where they're coming from. So let's get to it. Scripts folder. I can never find it that way. Click on that, exit out, and put me in my scripts folder. Let's do create C# script tutorial Wisp pool. So start with the pool. What this will do, it'll actually generate wisps for us. It's pretty simple, but it can let you control like the rate and stuff like that. You saw in the beginning when I was, you know, generating a bunch and then generating different intervals and things like that. For some reason I have issue when I make new scripts. So I just exit out and everything works again. It's like the auto complete will turn off and stuff. It's annoying. Unity. The sound check's not very long, unfortunately. We'll click on that, bring it back up. So, first of all, we're just going to need that prefab. So, wow, good start. Object. I had a handful of others. If you're going to have like a ton of those effects, then you're going to make it a little more generic. You would have like a list. I thought it was simpler just to have a couple entries here. And we'll call ours shooting star prefab. And so this is just holding the prefab. This isn't, these aren't our instances. We're going to be creating our own instances. So as we update, I'm going to cheat a little and look at my old code. And here I actually create a pool, but then I never use it, so I'm a goofball. Right now I just keep instantiating, which isn't like the best way to do it, but... So I have it as a separate thing here, summon wisps. You know, I have the count, type, game object start. This is where it's going to spawn, and then the target. So again, this specific implementation is to create like a homing wisp. So that's like our main goal here. So you're going to need a target. So we put that there. So let's just get those out of the way. I'm going to put these at the top, so when we're debugging, that's when we're most likely to like want to change, like while debugging. Target. Start. Do I even use that? I mean, I call it, but I don't. Am I really using it? Yeah, I don't. I ended up not using that. That's interesting. Because we just instantiate them from here. But if I wanted them, oh yeah, when I call it from other places, I actually do that. So it's like, say I strike an enemy, boom, then I want that like effect to come out of that enemy. Probably won't get that far into it because that's going to depend on your own game, but we'll have it there for anyway. So power void summon wisps. This is just, the order is going to be however you like it. Even though you might think the type is more important, in my head when I'm thinking about it, I always like think of the quantity first. Object type, or you can get a, oh, we'll do it like this. This works. What else did we have? Oh yeah, and the target and the start person. Even though I don't necessarily set it on this one. Oh no, I do. Okay. I'm blind. I don't know how I missed that. So I did like an int type and just pass an int, but then I actually get a game object by calling it. That was from there. What am I missing? Oh, right here. By calling this one where I have a collection of them. So you may want it where you just have like an indexed list. Again, it was just easier to do this way. So right now, I'm just gonna keep it like that. Sorry, I keep going back and forth here. Count, type, start, target. And so what do we do? Well, just gonna copy all of this and fix whatever we have. So we make a for loop based on the count, because that's how many times we're going to do it. Instead of get wisp type, we're just going to do type like that. So first we do game object, next wisp. We create a new local variable to hold. When you do instantiate, it's creating a whole new object in the game state in Unity. And then this variable lets us mess with it throughout this whole thing here in the current loop. We have trail wisp control, which we're actually going to change to our new one that we're going to make. Does the same thing. So we instantiate it. It looks at the next wisp, looks for that component. So that component better be on there. Ours isn't going to have it on there, so we'll get an error until we get that going. And then we have some other stuff that we call on here to start to set some like default behaviors, but we're not going to get to that quite yet. We set the target. That one we're going to want. That one's going to need it. So let's see. Do I even have... Yeah, I do. I'm jamming out a little bit. So, long and short of it is that we're just instantiating. Instantiate has built-in things to let us, instantiate on top of objects and parent to them and things like that. So we're just going to do that. Those built-in overload there. So now, create C# script tutorial wisp control. Also wanted to mention, I made it in a post on Patreon, but last week I tried super hard to get a video out. Like I did all these topics, and I was like working really hard, but I just went around, and as I was getting some ideas to see like how other things had been done, everyone had like way better videos than I was prepared to make at the time, so that kind of fell through. And then this past week I was just super busy on Wednesday. I didn't even have time to make an update about it. I mean, I probably had time, but it was out of mind because of it's the end of the month. I had a bunch of bills to pay. Need to get my car working again. It was like a bunch of stuff just all at once that I had to get done. So we're trying to get done today. So Toro Wisp Control. It's gonna be similar. You know, depending on your game, you may have like a default game character sort of behavior thing that maybe you could just use that. Because generally you're using like physics and velocities and stuff. I'm gonna show you one way to do it that has like the most natural motion, but you can run into some problems but it does look really nice, and it's a little simpler. So there's some elegance there, but then we'll show you how I went on and like change that a little bit. And if you really wanted to like take that to the max, you could find a way to like tween or blend between those like two behaviors. And maybe the most ideal implementation would be that. So almost every game design, talk I've given when I'm getting people started, we talk about velocities. So we have vector free. I just said vector free. Velocity. So what does velocity do? Well, just moves you every update. So again, for some, this is going to be like mad basic, because again, like whenever I'm getting anyone started on game design, this is the very first lesson I teach. Just gets things moving on screen. So it's really, really foundational, really basic. And then we do transform.position plus equal velocity. It's that simple. We need a way to control that velocity, and we want like, what are we trying to do? Like we're aiming for a target, and a way to get these nicer shapes and motions is to give it a bit of momentum or fake momentum. Oh, I turned it off. Anyway, y'all saw it in the beginning. Cheat a little bit. Whoops. Our velocity, we have our target. Speed will come later. I'll have a different implementation. In the end, we're going to have a vector and a speed instead of just a velocity. But again, just a velocity is kind of more elegant. It can be kind of nice. Object, target. So how do you get... So, I'm trying to phrase this. I'll just type it out. Velocity. How do I phrase this? I want to try to explain it too. Like, I know what to put. I just sorry, I'm just thinking here. Sorry, I have like 4 things that do the same thing. Alright, so how do you get the vector? Do y'all know the difference between like a velocity and a vector? Velocity is like kind of how you're moving. They're all vector 3s. But a vector is more just like your direction. And so what direction do we want? Well, we want the difference between our target and ourself. And generally when you're doing these things, a good like rule of thumb that I have is like you take yourself away from it. So what you do is like target.transform.position minus transform.position. So that's going to give you a vector that looks at it's not quite a vector yet. It's going to give you like an actual, I mean, it is a vector, but it's going to give you like the actual distance and things too. And so generally you might want to do like this, normalize. And so now you have it sort of where it's just a direction, and then you would multiply that by like a speed that you would want. You can also just do it like this. And I really should be showing this. Oh yeah, you have to do scale now. Unity. I think I can just do this. Can I? But I could just do dot scale. Did he get mad? Oh, whoops. Well, that should be a vector 3 too. Oh, I'm missing a... You guys. One day. What I was going to say is that I really should be illustrating all this, so... You can't do? Unity. I swear there's a way to do this. What am I doing wrong? Yeah, you can just multiply into it. Why are you being a jerk? I know why. It was a parenthesis the whole time. It wasn't. Alright. So again, yeah, let's get this going. Let's get this going. It's just so much easier to just illustrate. I don't know what's wrong with me. So add component, tutorial Wisp pool. I'm gonna grab a target. The reason I need it in the default one is so I can put our game character just right here. Boop. We're gonna start on ourselves. Shooting star prefab is tutorial trail prefab. Is this generating yet? Let's actually get that going, so we can mess a little bit. Tutorial Wisp pool. So we also had public int spawn rate equals int spawn time max equals, so whenever it crosses the spawn max, it'll spawn this many. And then if you wanted something more advanced where like maybe there's like a fade out or fade in, you'd have to, you know, get a little more advanced than that. So update. Oh, and then of course int current time plus plus. Usually want to do that at the end. I do it first to show like what we're doing. And then if current time is greater than or equal, depends if you want greater than or greater than equals, your call. Time max. Then we summon wisps at the rate. You know, again, that's the count. We're gonna do shooting star prefab. We're gonna do our built-in start and target. But if we called it from somewhere else, then we could, you know, do our own, you know, more specifics. So again, this is not performance ready. We are just instantiating over and over. Normally you'd want to create a pool and start, which we do over here, and then we would just activate them. This is just a little bit easier right now. We'll get to that part in a minute, or later on. So let's see what happens when we run it. If we get anything going on yet. Hopefully I'll just hang out. Nope, so we got an error. Bibbidi-bop. That had them all sitting here. Line 27. What's this 41 here? Object not set to an instance of an object. Set R. That should be all there. Oh, I had this on here still. I actually think that's what the issue was. Actually, what's it called? Tutorial, Wisp control. Change that over to our tutorial one. Just a little bit of an oversight there. I do have a target thing there, right? Yeah. We'll get it. No errors, please. Sweet. No, we got errors. What? I don't think I had this much issue when I was first messing with it. Okay, same error. Line 27. 27. Summon wisps. Make sure we have it all in the right spot. Shooting start prefab. Start target. Those have all been set. Don't understand. Make sure those all show up still as we. Look at this. Oh my gosh, of course. Y'all just gonna have to forgive me. So let's go back to our prefab. Let's actually add that script that we made. It should have been on there. So that was our big mistake. So now our script's actually on our prefabs. We're getting some wacky errors. It's creating, you know, some cool mess ups though. We like some crazy bugs. Those are always fun, right? Shouldn't that set? Did I turn that off? Yeah, see, that should turn on. Also, current time should have gone to 0. We go through there. Oh, we're going to turn this one off. So that's where our error was the one that was already in the scene. Since it didn't get spawned through the script, it didn't get a target assigned. So, what's happening? It's trying super hard to reach us, right? This is what I wanted to show in the first place. You know, we have these trails spawning. You can see it kind of shooting out there, bouncing back and forth. Tutorial wisps control. Velocity plus equals, and we multiply it by 10. That's still like super fast. So every frame is going like 10% of the way. And the velocity plus equals is what gives us like a momentum. It's like, it doesn't ever just sort of get rid of its momentum. So let's turn it down. Let's see, get a better shape here. So now we're getting stuff like this. You can see them going back and forth. And if we're really far away, that value gets really big because it's based on that distance. So, you know, maybe you'd be happy with just lowering this even more. So let's actually get this. We can do this live. Public float speed equals 1.01 f bop. And I gave away what we're going to do next, but so I have this going on. The problem is that it's going slower, but it can't really target us very well. So it's, you know, it's trying to hit us, but it may not look like it. They just have so much extra momentum to deal with that they can't quite make it. So you can see these original ones trying to hit us, and they go past us, and they're trying to like turn back around. So let's just normalize this. And we're going to want our actual prefab selected as we mess with it. Because we're not going to be able to just like grab the velocity of. So it's not going to work for everybody, but these new ones will be. You may not think it, but it is a bit different. We're still getting some, maybe not the best behavior. You can see they kind of curve around a little bit different. Hard to explain, but this effect has its own coolness to it. On our prefab, I'm going to increase the size of the hill a little bit. Just for fun. Amp up that emission power. Make it a little bit more green. This is really aesthetic, doesn't matter too much, but I want it. And then I have my own billboard script that will, provide like all the other ones, like, as per usual. So this is going to make sure the actual sparkle isn't, it's always going to be facing us, so it'll look a little cooler. That's probably a little bit too big. I knew 2 was going to be too big, but let's do 1.5. So, what can we do to get some better shapes there? So we can do it with a vector. What am I trying to say here? Let's just get to it. Sorry, somebody. So we're going to keep our velocity, but instead, let's do public vector 3 vector. We already have our speed. And so what we do is we turn our velocity just straight up equal to our vector times our speed. And this is where that, the one that's sort of a little more natural, because the more natural one is this. In fact, let's do it. So what we do instead is do vector plus equal, vector equals our target minus our own position, normalized, and that's it. And then we take that vector and multiply it by the speed, and then make that our velocity. So there's a lot of things going on here. So what this is going to do, we'll just show you. Trying to get to our next song here. Our speed's really low, so. You can see, we're already getting some stuff. We do a better job of staying close to the character. Still get some issues where we're like far away, the speed gets crazy big, which seems a little weird. I don't know, maybe that's just sort of a... We should also make it so these actually go away eventually. So, public float time max. You could do it if you wanted. Equal 100 time max plus if time. Whoops! Every time, dudes. Public Put current time. Time max. Set active. Oops. Object. Local game object. Dot set active. False. So we just turned it off. You probably want to like actually destroy it, but just turn it off so we don't get any garbage collection. We're creating a ton of, RAM eaten up, but make sure I had other soundtrack lined up. Oh, we'll get to it. Oh, I thought I hit play already. So let's make it a little bit cleaner when we're trying to look. So what's going on? We have our vector, and that's the facing of the object. So right now, like when you have the controls here, you could say, Z is generally the direction you go. So that's our vector. Our vector is just straight ahead this way. And then, we have an orientation here, but basically it's, this is the main part of the vector. If we rotate it around a bit, now our vector is up here. So what we're doing, we're straight setting our vector to that. And what is that vector? Well, it's looking at the character. So when our character moves, we change our vector just a little bit like that. So now this is probably off a little bit. Oh, I'm actually closer than I thought I'd be. We're aiming at that character. We're going straight to it. Why we still get sort of a drunk behavior is that we're constantly just adding to our velocity. So if we did this, our velocity is always going to be looking straight at our character or our target and just going straight towards it. It's way more precise. You're still going to get some, interesting behavior, but we'll show you. So you can see now, we got this going on. It's like really aggressively. It always knows where we are, always tracking. Increase that speed. When we get too close, then you get weird behaviors like that. Thought you jokers were supposed to disappear. For some reason they're not. Did I not like that? Here's actual gameplay of that game. I don't think it's that interesting of a game, but I don't know. So many games promise a lot. I mean, not like up front with words, but like with, let's do sex. Anyway, that's a different topic. So you can see, what's happening there. So an alternative, what I end up doing to try and like tween between those behaviors is to make it so when we first start, we don't know where the character is. We just have a start velocity. And actually, that's what we're going to do first. So when these jokesters are instantiated, we're going to do this. Velocity equals new vector 3, and for each one, we do -1 and 1. On the X and the Z, that's the lateral. And then on the up and down, I do 1 and 0.1. So it's like they're all sort of going up a bit. You could do 0 here if you want to be like really flat. Actually, do that and bring it down a bit. And then dot normalized times start speed, which we haven't set yet. So instead of doing it multiple steps, we'll have it one step here. public load start speed equals 5. The problem is that this is only going to last for like a moment. That's sort of the other problem with this implementation. So when we have the plus equals, we can keep that natural speed, because like this starts out really fast. I'll show you. The idea of this implementation is to show you, like, this is getting complicated, and that's like on purpose. It's so you can have like the option to you know, make the looks that you want. So you can see that start speed's like really huge. Just getting a little confusing. Are these actually despawning? Of course I did that. I forgot to correct that. So current time plus plus. Let's actually have a different spawn rate. Let's do every, it looks like we're doing it every 60 anyway. Let's do like 5 at once. Is that working correctly? Doesn't seem to be. So we're in a little bit of issues there. I think I remember typing it too, and I just put one right here. I didn't put the count or the spawn rate. So I'm a goofball. Please. So now things are moving very fast and frantic. So let's try and eliminate that a little bit. One. Let's actually make it only last about 60 frames. So you can have a better idea of like what's happening. So you can see we're getting some cool motion, but it's having trouble like actually targeting us because of that extra velocity it has to correct. So that's what I meant about you know, you get some really cool curves this way. And so what I like to do is find a way to like blend between. Eventually it'll just be really precise, like some of those other implementations I showed you. So let's see. Let's bring that start speed halfway down. Let's make a regular speed is half 2. Bring that back up. The problem is that like you can get some really cool, nice motions like when you're debugging and like creating the effect. But then you go to like actually have it in the game, and it's like too much. Like they take too long. That is not correcting at all. It's like way too much. It's like it can't fight its own velocity very well. And you know, you can fight it more by increasing the speed, right? But then like the overall speed gets too crazy. So again, it's just kind of hard. So let's do that other one. What we do instead, let's leave that here for future reference. Vector plus equals, so instead of fighting the speed, we sort of compromise and we just fight our direction. And so now we're going to blend between just our vector and our, you know, our target vector, which is this. This is our target vector. And the target vector is our target position minus our own position. normalized. Well, let's see. I don't know if we want to normalize it yet. Yeah, we don't actually don't normalize it. Maybe that's a problem. I've been trying normalizing this. Let me get to it. Minus our vector. Actually, I want to rename this velocity vector like I did in the other one. Wait for the prompt to come up. You can rename, and I'll rename everything here. Project. So velocity vector plus equals our new one minus our self. So this is a really, really useful times the rate. This is a really useful equation. I use it all the time. It's like, it's a lerp, but it has some smoothing to it. It has some issues where as you get closer to it, it gets smaller and smaller. Because basically what we're doing, our velocity vector plus equals, we're adding the difference between our current one, this is our target vector, target velocity vector, minus our self, multiplied by a value. If we did 1, this would mean we're always facing perfectly. So instead, we dampen it. So now every frame, we look at our target 10%. You know what I mean? Like we only, so if we were to like turn on our chair to the left to face the person on our left, instead of like doing that in one frame, we would do it over the course of, however long it took. The problem is, it's like the, I don't know, what is that? There's an old thing where it's like, if you go halfway forever, will you ever make it there? So that's an issue where you run into with this, even though I like this equation a lot and I still use it a lot. As you get closer to it, it like slows down, and you may not want that behavior. But let's see what that looks like. So, we got some wackiness going on. Seems weird. My math is wrong here, but oh yeah, generally you don't want to do the plus equals anymore. So we're kind of, I mean, you can, but I'm not sure what kind of numbers we're going to need to make it look good. So our velocity is always going to equal the velocity vector, which is like the forward of this, times our speed. And then, of course, we're always updating our position based on the velocity. So here's where like you can get some sharpness. Like if you remember from the beginning of the video, my curves were kind of sharp. That's part of the reason. The other reason is because of how I tween between the start speed and the next speed. So now, get some like this. It's not quite what we want. So no matter how big I turn up the start speed, nothing's happening. So what's going on? So this just might not be dampened enough. So let's do that. Click float vector damp. So now we can update it in real time. Whoops. Let it load. Do. So what do we got now? Same thing, huh? What's going on? This is not as expected. Oh, I know what I did. Forgot. I have to update this. So our velocity vector is just like, it's correct immediately. Let's, you know, it's already starting. It was already starting going this way because that's just default. This is just Z forward, you know, in world space, default by Unity. So what I really need to do, have that same behavior and set our velocity vector as well when we do our start speed. Velocity vector. It was a little weird though. It doesn't even seem like it should be doing it that easily. Or, you know, like, maybe if we just increased our regular speed, that might be the issue. It's just not. So we got that going. Yeah, start speed very fast. Not what we wanted. Something like that. Let's increase our lifetime. So you can see it's trying to catch us. And increase our speed, see how that works. Let's actually bring that down a bunch. But increase how much we face our target each time. So now we're getting something like that. Let's see if we can bring our start speed up again. So now we're getting some of those behaviors that we saw like earlier. And you can see there's some slowdown because what happens is that we have this like big velocity in the beginning. You know, partly it's because of that dampen equation. There's a few things that cause it. You can have a acceleration on your speed. You could have some straight up curves that if you wanted to follow, just make it real strict, like you don't even really use velocities, you kind of just have a curve on your speed based on its lifetime. You could do some cool stuff with that. I haven't done it myself, so I'm not prepared to like just, I feel like there might be some hiccups we might run into. But already it's pretty good. You can see as if we're moving, maybe that's not the effect you want. So let's do a speed acceleration. I like to have it next to its speed. So speed plus equal speed excel. You could have a speed limit if you wanted, which would probably be good. You can see now, you know, we don't have as much slowdown. It's missing us a little bit. But that looks a lot cooler, you know what I mean? We maintain our velocity better. Looks a lot cooler. But again, we get some like weird missing stuff here at the end. Or it's overshooting us because of the velocity. We could prove that. So now we're going like directly to us, right? And so you can see, you know, as we turn this up, it gets more and more like precise, like directly to us. And so what I end up doing in the end is having a vector precision. I call it dampen here, correction. So let's just do dampen correction to keep our So what we do is vector dampen plus equal vector dampen correction if vector dampen is greater than 1. Vector dampen equals 1. If you go greater than 1, you get weird behavior, because now you're doing like, you know, look to the person on your left 200%. So that would mean like you do like a 360, like, or you know, like what does that mean? It gives you weird behaviors when you do, if you don't. So let's start this load again. You can start at 0 because we're counting up. So that means like right in the beginning, it doesn't even know where to look. It's just like, boom, I'm magic, I'm flying out here. Then I realize who my target is, and then I start aiming, you know what I mean? You know, as time goes on, then I'm a lot more precise. And if you want that to be a sharper curve, then you can increase that. See? Then you get some real cool shapes right there. So already, that like by default, you might just want something like that, because that's a nice motion. So you'll keep that, but then like mess with your other stuff. Like maybe it's just the speed. It's like, whoop, I got too high. Oops, what happened? And see, then you get some weird sharpness, but maybe you like that. So that one's looking pretty cool. Start with 0 for that. But you get the idea, right? Like, I think we're starting to understand it a little bit more. You can see when that precision really ramps up, it just sticks to us, which is kind of the problem with that effect. You can also do it so you're doing all this in local space, so it's kind of like parented to the character. So you would, but then you get some weird update stuff where they're moving, but you may want that. If the effect happens fast enough, everything, so what do I mean by that? It's like, as the character moved, they'd all move like this. Oh, it's not going to update properly. I thought it would. Oh, it's like the trail render is still updating, so I can't do it like that to show you. But basically, it would all... Oh, and the Unity trail render might allow it anyway, so you might have to use a different... you can do... you might have to use like something from the asset store or something. Again, you know, we can do stuff like this. Like that looks cool. So anyway, hope that was at least a little insightful. I wanted to also show just one other thing. I thought it was going to require a whole other video, but I think this would be okay. Just doing this. So let's create empty. We do trail spin. Oh yeah, trail spin. No. Create another empty. I'm going to name it pivot. Create another empty. Call it I don't know, point. You don't necessarily need this one. I think it would just be easier if you're having new prefabs in here. None of this makes sense yet, I know. So go in here. Let's extend it out. Where are we in world space? Oh, we're way out here. Trail spin. Can't get over it. Why are you scaled up? I don't know why it went there. Really? Got lucky. It's closer than I thought. You could make this kind of dynamic too, but we're just going to do a more explicit animation here. So our point here, I want this to update all the way. Oh no, this needs to be like this. Where are you? I goofed. There we go. So, what am I doing here? Let's bring the point out a little bit. Oh my god. There we go. Rotation's weird, yes, for some reason. It's because it was parented. Point position out a little bit. Component, animator, animation, create a new clip, tutorial, trail spin. Oh, it's not gonna stop. So what are we doing? I mean, probably betrayed it, but we take our pivot. Yeah, see, I don't want it here. I want one more point, just in case. Base, I don't even know what to call it, dudes. And animator. The reason I do that is like the more like buffer you have when you're using like animations, there might be a performance hit. I mean, I would guess that there is at least a marginal one. You can add more stuff without like fudging with your other animations. So anyway, now we're pivot here. And we're just gonna spin a Rooney. So is it Z? It's Y. Whoops. Actually just want this to be 0. And then at 1. How many times do I want to spin around? Let's just do 2. 360. Is it 6? 720. Whoop, whoop. I want to update the camera here. So we can see that without having to run it. See, already you can get some cool stuff. This is slurping weird, so. Or lerping weird, rather. Do something more like that. You know, keep it pretty linear if you wanted. Sorry, that's looking pretty cool. And let's Let's turn off the recording. So already, like in Trails of Cold Steel, that was the effect. They had these orbs that spun around like that. And unfortunately on the... Oh, right. Edges, like along here, that was getting some like twisting. And it's funny because I was like doing my own effects with it, and I was like, oh, that stinks. And then later that evening, I saw the exact same effect, and it was just funny. Like you know, bad effect. You can see the twisting right here. It's not too bad on ours. It can get pretty bad though, especially when you're using opaque. When you're using transparent blending like this, it's not as bad. Everything sort of blends and smears together. So let's just do the one I was originally thinking of. So as we go, we also go up. So you can see we get some like jumping around. You'd have to do some fixing. We could, one correction is just to make this shorter. Actually, I love this song, it's so cool. Do the full 2 seconds. Here, be 1440. And what you'd have to do is like you can do some pre-updating before you actually turn the renderer on. That's the thing with the trails. It's like you know, it's they're always like updating. They're really agnostic. You can see here along those edges where the twisting is happening, where it's correcting. I still think it's like a strong effect. The reason is because we have, you know, it's that give and take. You could use like a cylinder and just slide like, you know, a particle at this, or not even a particle. Just slide like a texture up, you know, that's stretched out and it would just twist up. But you'll get some more thickness, like because the trail renders directly to, you know, in real time, and not just renders, is created, the geometry is created, you know, in real time based on the view of the camera. And so, you know, you can already see. Oh, I knew I was gonna fudge this up. Damn it. It's alright. We can correct it, but no, we should be fine still. Yeah, no, we're good, we're good, we're good. Never mind. Take this point. Rotate it 180. Almost not right. Oh, see, that's what, yeah. Damn it. Urgh. I wanted multiple of these and to spin the base instead. We can still get it, it's just kind of annoying. It's not going to be, like... So, let's actually just correct it. I don't like it. No. I'm gonna correct it because it's driving me crazy. So what we want is to be able to have a pivot and a point, like multiple. But unfortunately I animated that pivot, that's why I wanted this extra here. Let's actually go to the top. Normally I like to have a buffer, like a parent buffer. Just I found it helps. Alright, trail, spin, Annie. Can I overwrite it? Yes, good. Let's actually do that to the base. And then at 1 second, 720, 1440 is what it was. So that's still happening. It's great. Zoom out. Just do like 3 seconds worth. Let's see, will that look okay? It's kind of slow. It's looking all right. So why am I doing this? Why did I go back and... Well, I want to be able to create another one. I'm going to rotate 180. And then I have stuff like this. Very cool. So again, let's take it to the next level. Drop it down. Let's do -2, too low. And we're going to go over here. And we're going to do -2. And you're like, wait, what? Because here we'll do +2. And this is just for... Why do you go back down? Oh. Said -2 when I was over here before, but I lied. So now you can do some stuff like this. This is just to show you, you can do all sorts of stuff. You can also, again, this is where I'd like want the parenting to be even like more different. It would be kind of specific, so we'll just we're just gonna do it like sort of maybe the wrong way right now, just to show. But same thing on both these points. Actually, bring them in. Bring them out. Bring them in. So now, we have effects like this. And, depending on like how you pace the like in and out, you can get all sorts of effects. That's not even what I was thinking, but it looks pretty cool. Oh, I did the position one too. That was my mistake. Wanted to just grab these two. Yeah, I like that. It looks cool. It's pretty cool. It's turned out cooler than I thought. And I mean, you can do, I don't know, lots of things. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think if I had anything more. It's probably going to do it. Of course, you can. Let's delete that. Oh, whoops. What was I thinking? I lost my trail of thought. I guess I was just going to say you can, of course, just ramp it up even more. Do things like that. God, that's pretty tight. It's like the spinning's happening faster than the rising. So let's... Guess I'm just gonna ramp this up. So it's getting kind of, I want more of an angle, you know what I'm saying? I grabbed the wrong one, I'm a goofball. Let's see. .240, good. Position Y, 6. Now you'd have to do some correcting and stuff, but it's even still, it's like, I was hoping for more of a sharp angle. I don't know if I can like reduce the rotation on that last one. 40, just 1,000. Yeah, it's a little bit better. And of course, you can increase the time again on these. And then you can get stuff like that. It's updating weird because of the animation. That's not something that you'd have to live with. You could correct it. So anyway, I hope that gives you some ideas. Again, the purpose of this video is to show some different techniques for using trail renderers that aren't necessarily on like super dynamic objects. That way we can control the shapes a little bit better. You even might like it to just this is another way of doing like slash effects. You simply yo, what is that? That was weird. That was weird. I don't know what happened there. So that's up a little high. Let's do like, oops, 80. This 0. Fast in, slow out, like we do. Whoops, I did not want to animate that. Just 2, I guess. Do like 3. Four. No, stop animating it, dude. And we'd want to turn down the trail render again. I swear to goodness, stop recording. You know what I'm saying? This is a really bad example. guess you just want it more linear or something. And then just sped up a bunch. You get the idea. You know, you can combine that with, like, I don't know, some other effects just to give it, like, more thickness. Because, again, the point of the trail render is so that you have this dynamic mesh that is, like, always facing the camera. But that would be cool. Even if you had, like, a big fat sword, just having that, like, on the tip would look really cool. And, again, this is so, you know, this messing up right here where it pops back forward, you would correct that. Like, in a real game situation, that wouldn't happen. But you just use these nice, just real straight curves, rotations, to give you real nice shapes instead of doing like the dynamic stuff, because the dynamic stuff can be a little like clunky and floppy and ribbony, and it just doesn't look as good. So anyway, that'll do it. This is music closes out there. Thank y'all for watching. Super sorry about like 2 weeks in a row missing the Wednesday, the video day. I want to say I could do another video. We'll see. I have like a little tiny video I could do. Maybe I'll do that before Wednesday to make up for it. But we'll see. But I have some cool ones coming up. Some stuff that I'm learning that I'm excited to get to work on today about developing environments. Again, just watching some Trails of Cold Steel. I think those games are great. You know, Neon Falcon. I noticed it a bit in their, you know, Ys games, the newer ones. Just some methodologies that they use for making environments. You'll find a lot of time it isn't necessarily the effort, the long hours it takes to render or craft characters and environments and effects. It's just knowing what you want and knowing how to do it. And just sitting there and struggling, it affects your psyche and your willingness to want to keep making. And it just feels like a lot of wasted time. And so just finding out methodologies are really exciting for me. And so I hope to share that probably next week as I implement it in my own stuff here. So I'm excited to actually get some actual level design going. I don't want it's hard to say out loud how long I've been working on this game, and I don't even have the first level yet. So, but you know, the combat's the main thing in this game. So even though it has a little more exploration, it's still about the fighting and stuff. Anyway, back on topic. I hope that was interesting to you. I'll try to think of some more trail effects. You know, again, the idea is to show that controlling these trails more specifically can give you some cool effects, like doing some like magic missiles or some like life drain. I wanted to show like some actual missile type stuff. What you can do is, like I mentioned with the trail renderer, you can actually have it get fat instead. You'd want the base width to be pretty big, like that, and then start out small, and then have like a cloud texture. It would look really tight. Do some Macross type stuff. So yeah, thank y'all again. These videos, please let me know if there's topics you want covered. For now, until I have, you know, I'm going to stick to these specific implementations like this, you know, rather than, you know, a lot of my videos were like mesh based, trail based, things like that. Instead, it's going to get more specific, like, you know, ice attack, or, you know, that's not what I have planned, but just more specific things. I might redo that fiery explosion one just to show the actual step by step. It was more methodology. I wish I would have done a little bit more. So anyway, thank y'all so much. Support continues to be crazy good and amazing, and it really helps me stay motivated. Like, you may not think that. I have a pretty good work ethic, but it doesn't always feel good. And with your support, I don't know, it feels good. And these are the kind of videos that I want. I feel like not every topic, but there's like a lot of info out there that I wish there were better videos on. Sound design's one. I'm still learning it. I'm happy to say that I've all the sound effects that I've used in the game so far are ones that are created by me. So I hope to share that knowledge too. Anyway, Dang it, I wish I had the effects going on while I was talking, because that's how I like to close it out. Oh, great view, good camera, good job, 10 out of 10. There's that guy just going nuts. Oh yeah, I made it get fat, that's funny. So yeah, thank y'all so much. I think I'll get better at these videos. Help with the mumbling, make them faster, keep the content high, but the time down. I know I tend to tune out of some longer videos that creators make. That doesn't mean it's not there for somebody else, but you know, good, raw, unfiltered knowledge, you know, without too much fluff is awesome. So thank y'all again. These, as always, will be made available on YouTube, and then all the scripts that we created and assets that we created, not necessarily Unity assets, but the scripts, textures, things like that will be made available for free to download. You can all mess with it yourself. All right, thanks again and take care.